So in today's video, we're going to be talking more about my golden harvest config. So let's get right into it. So about a few months back, maybe like 3 or 4 months, I posted videos saying the best settings for your golden harvest. Since then, I made a ton of updates, and I posted those updates on like community posts, my Instagram, things like that. But I've had a few requests to be like, hey, can you make a video on going over what you changed? And also, can you show how to put your config onto an SD card? And I'll go through all that today. But since that video, I made a lot of changes such as swing sensitivity. I put the standard LEDs to 144. I don't know what I was thinking, keeping it at like 30 or whatever I originally had it when I was testing everything out. A big one is pre-on and post-off effects, but there's like a file in the standard called common, and that common file is just a lot of random pre-on and post-off sounds that come with the golden harvest. My personal opinion, you don't need that unless you just want these random pre-on sounds on like an Anakin Skywalker sound font. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's just go over the few changes I made to the Golden Harvest config. So when you download the config, this will come up as just normal standard Golden Harvest stuff. But something I also added is a custom sound font that I made. So if you download this file, you get a sound font that I made. Which is kind of cool. It's based off of a character that I just came up with. Like, what if a character just, fought alongside with some Wookiees? There it is, a Jedi who fights alongside Wookiees. That's the sound font. And right here, I have a settings.txt files as well. We'll go over that in a minute. But first, let's go over the general. So here it is. This was another thing that I had a lot of people ask me about was the volume. Keeping it at 100, but if you want to bump it up, you can. You can bump it up to 200, 300, and 400 is the max. But I have it at 100. It just kind of depends on your saber and how loud you want your sabers. Personally, for me, I keep this at 200, 250 maybe. Next right here is pre-on and post-off. These, originally I believe they were 0. And the reason why I changed this is before you had to point your saber down to get a pre-on and post-off sound. And there would also be like a little effect, and I changed that as well. You'd be like a little effect and then it will turn on. Now, with this, you can have your saber pointed anywhere, doesn't matter, and the pre-on sounds will just be right there. When I came across this setting and changed that in the effects, I couldn't tell you how happy I was. I was so excited that I was able to change that because it was cool at first to be like, oh, I can have a pre-on sound every time I point the saber down, and every other time I can just have it. It was cool at first, and then it got annoying. So I'm glad that I can just point it anywhere and you get the sound, no effect. It's great. Next, this is also a big thing, sound font jump. I went over this in the last video, but I changed it to 1. Originally, I think it was like 8 or 10. Yeah, that's not fun. I'll tell you that right now. Like, you can either twist a hilt or you can press the button to go to the next font with this setting. But originally it was like 8. For example, I was helping Benji over at Nerf Herd Customs, kind of like just showing him kind of like what I did with Golden Harvest. And I think his config had like 8 on the sound font jump, and he only had 2 sound fonts on it. And it was like skipping the 2 sound fonts like 8 different times. So I just let him know, like, yo, put that thing at 1. Put it at 1, and you're golden. You're golden. Next, another thing is orientation. If your SD card is pointed down, keep it at 0. If your SD card is pointed up, change it to 1. Oh, and another thing here, this is one thing I changed. So I brought down the swing threshold because I was told that people aren't getting accent swings was the original setting from like 3 months ago. Now I have it. I bumped it up a little bit, not much, but it's good enough to where it's like accent swings are hitting when they're supposed to. So that is good in my opinion. That's good. Next down here, effect font slot 10. That's going to be the custom slot, which we'll go over here in a little bit. And then down here, your number of LEDs, 144. You can change that on the hilt, and the number of neopixel accents. Let's say if you have like a crystal chamber, or if you have some blinkies on the side, you're gonna want to change it here. So, for example, my second sister has 8 accent lights off to the side, so I would change this to 8 for that. And right down here you have deep sleep. I haven't really messed with deep sleep because I feel like Golden Harvest's deep sleep is like is perfect where it's at. But if you want to make it just a little bit shorter, you can do so right there. So here we go into the effect font slot. So slot 10, that's the custom slot that I made. So let's go ahead and just look in here. I didn't change much from what I did about 3 months ago. The only thing I changed is the pre-on and post-off effect. But something I do kind of want to mess with, and I don't know when I'm going to do it. Maybe the next Golden Harvest update, like an actual Golden Harvest firmware update. I want to make my own blade styles. The one that I really want to try is Ray, kind of like have a blue spark ignition and then to a yellow blade. I think that's something that is needed with this. And there are other blade styles I want to make too. I want to make a good Kylo blade style, even though you can make one from the hilt by being like, oh, let's use wave 9 and it kind of looks unstable. Or we can use like classic 2 and then you can use on top effects and get to an unstable looking blade, which, yeah, you can do that, but I would rather want to have it where it's already a preset, you know what I mean? So yeah, I kind of want to make a good Kylo preset blade and a good Rey preset blade. But other than that, like, I feel like all these classics here are good for like just your standard Jedi stuff. And I usually use the waves for Cal Kestis because in Fallen Order he has like some blades who are kind of have a wave effect to them. And then of course I'll use the darksaber when I have a darksaber sound font on Golden Harvest. Fire, of course, Sauron, and then you got your rainbow ones. But let's go in Classic 1 real quick. Now I did this with all of them. So we go down here to pre-on effect intensity and the post-off effect intensity here to 0. Because originally I believe they were at like 100 or something like that. 0, so there's no effect at all. So if you have a sound font with a pre-on effect or post-off effect on it, you won't get like a blade effect. You'll just hear like a click or whatever the pre-on sound is, and then the blade will turn on. It's similar to how CFX is. And in order for me to like make a Rey blade style, I would have to figure out how to change the pre-on effect color. And I feel like, you know, that's very possible. I just have to like do a little bit more research on it. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I changed. I didn't really change, you know, I didn't really go too heavy into the changes since last time. But what I can show y'all now is how to take this and what you need to take from this and put it on your own. So this is an example. So right here, let's say this is your SD card. And right here, this is my file that you downloaded. So what you're going to need is first, let's go in effect font slots. As you can see here, I don't have slot 10. Sometimes you'll have a slot 10 and it'll just say custom. You can delete that if you want. And what you're going to do is you're going to take slot 10 from here, drag, and you're just going to drop it right there. So now we have the slot 10 Mamba over on your SD card. So back out here to the main page, let's hop into sound fonts real quick. So if you want my custom sound font, you can drag and drop it over. What you're going to need out here is this settings.txt file. The reason why you need this and the reason why this is so important is because this is going to tell the general file, hey, the swing sensitivities are this. Remember that? So this sound font needs to have the swing sensitivities from your file because I have them in my file. That's basically what it's saying. Why is it like that? I don't know. It just is. I've noticed if I don't put, or if I put a different settings.txt files, the swing sensitivity will go back to just stock. So if we go into the settings.txt files, another reason why is the power on and power off. I put it at 30 because that's standard. if anyone has like experiences like Profi, you know that 300 on the ignition is standard. 30 on the ignition here is like the 300 for Profi. It's 30 is standard. And the 0 here for power off is like CFX. It's just going to read the audio file and it's going to line up perfectly. So what I like to do is I like to take the setting.txt files, I like to drag and I like to just drop it over here. I'm not going to do that because I already have it here. Now, since it's outside of my sound fonts, I can just take this, I can copy it, and I can go into each sound font that I have and just paste it in there, and everything's good. So the next thing that you want to do is if your Golden Harvest board is not updated to the latest firmware, this is what you're going to want to do. So the user interface sounds are different because of the most recent update. They added things like ignition type, retraction type, and there are sound files for those. So you need to just drag and drop the entire user interface sounds over here. You can delete the one that you have, or you can drag and drop and just hit like replace, and it should replace everything. Next thing you want to do is take these journal files and delete those, and take this journal file over here from the Mamba files, drag and drop it over. And lastly, like I said before, if your Golden Harvest board is not updated to the latest firmware, take this little update tab and drag and drop it over. And then after you do all that, just put your SD card back into your board, pop the battery in. Your board will say like performing firmware update. It will take about 30 seconds. Your board will be fully updated. You don't need to do it anymore until the next Golden Harvest firmware update. And then from there, you have my file, you have slot 10, you have my custom colors and blade styles. The only thing that you really need to do is just to go and assign all of your colors and blade styles to the sound fonts that you have. And if you don't know how to do that, I will have videos out talking about how to do that with a 1 button and a 2 button. Those will be my next 2 videos, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's it for this video. If y'all have any questions, please do not hesitate. Hit me up on Instagram. It is _BlueMamba_. Leave comments if you have any questions. I'll be happy to help you. But other than that, guys, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share this video with someone who might enjoy it as well. And I'll talk to y'all in the next one.